I've got the bourbon here, and I got the American whiskey here.
He's the Louis of the craft whiskey boys, and I'm the Simon.
Oh Lord. Finish is beautiful.
Honestly, I prefer the American whiskey version.
American bourbon, I'll score this one first. We'll let Pennyman score second. The further we get down these reviews, the longer we talk. Welcome back, folks, to another episode of the Craft Whiskey Boys 2-minute review with Jay and my boy Saul. And today we're going to do Michters. We were going to do one of the Michters, which I think was the American whiskey. Then we realized that we had a bottle of also the Michters Bourbon on the shelf. So we thought, well, why not just cram them both into one and do a 2-minute review, so a minute on each, and score the Michters American Whiskey and the Michters Bourbon.
Michters, been through a few ownerships. I think they were called Schenk. I think after Prohibition they got bought out by Lou Foreman.
Lou Foreman, yeah, who named it after his two boys, right?
Yeah, Michael and Peter.
That's
so Michter. So anyway, they went out of business in I think 1989, and then they were bought recently. Well, not recently, but since 1989, obviously.
Who took them over then, Saul, from that?
The gentleman I think you met, actually, Richard Newman.
No, I didn't meet Richard Newman at the whiskey show, but I think it was the other guy I met. His name was Joseph. I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, I'm sure I will. Magliocco. I apologize if I got that wrong. Yeah, I haven't met Richard Newman. I don't know if he's still involved. Maybe he is. I have no idea, but I've only met Joseph so far.
So I think originally it was in Tennessee, wasn't it?
No, originally it was in Pennsylvania when it started.
Yeah, Pennsylvania, that's right.
Yeah,
and now they've moved
I think it was a Pennsylvania Dutchman that started it originally,
That's right.
and then they've moved it since. They've bought it down to, obviously, the heart of American bourbon. Kentucky.
But they have two, so they've got a distillery, they have their main distillery, and then they have a visitor center as well.
We were due to go last year, when was it? November last year when we were going to New York. We were going to go, I think it was November or October. We were going to go down to Kentucky and get some Harley Davidsons and go and do the bourbon trail. And unfortunately, one of our friends lost his passport. We won't say his name.
Oh, hi there. I was at UFC and I believe I misplaced my passport. Has anything been handed in?
He lost his passport at a UFC event. Somehow just slipped out of his pocket. Wouldn't be anything to do with the beers and the whiskey that he was drinking that night. But so unfortunately, because he didn't have a passport, we couldn't fly from New York down to Kentucky, and we missed out on going and visiting Michters, visiting the likes of the guys at Town Branch and Buffalo Trace and all these great distilleries that we wanted to visit.
Louisville and Fort Nelson. Now my American geography is not great, so maybe Jay can help me on that, being that he's lived there. But obviously Louisville is a small city in Kentucky, and then Fort Nelson. So they've got two premises. One is a distillery, and I think one used to be a distillery and now is just a visitor center. But they've
I'm not sure how small Louisville is, to be honest.
Seen it on a map, because believe it or not, I booked an Airbnb there, but our mate, who shall remain nameless, rhymes with ho, ruined the trip for us. And looking on a map, it wasn't that big. I mean, we live in London, so.
Oh, well, we live in London. Fuck
massive,
off,
mate. Yeah, anyway, Michters, really good branding. Might have seen them on the show Billions. Damian Lewis, Liverpool fan, legend.
I actually like Damian Lewis. Billions is cool, but I actually liked him a lot in Homeland. And I always assumed that Damian Lewis, or Damien, however you pronounce it, Damien,
is an American, because his accent
he's always
is amazing.
his American accent. He's actually from England.
Got a great accent, brilliant actor.
Yeah, he's got a British accent.
First discovered him in Band of Brothers.
Yeah, great.
If you haven't seen it, guys, you should follow my other YouTube channel, Solly's TV series recommendations. Just kidding.
I've got the bourbon here, and I got the American whiskey here. They brought in a female master distiller. She's previously of Booker's, which is a Jim Beam company, but a really, really good quality bourbon. And what I love about what they do is they, number one, use really, really good barrels, right? So they don't just go and buy barrels, like, no disrespect to a Jack Daniels or a Jim Beam, but they're buying barrels that are, the trees have been felled, they're yard seasoned for 3 months, and then they're kiln dried and they use them. Tannins can be a little bit too high sometimes in that. So what they do is they make sure they get the barrels where the staves, which are these here on the barrel, have been yard seasoned, meaning they've sat outside in the snow and the sun and the rain, and they leached out tannins for a minimum of 3 years. I think they barrel at about 54% proof, so they bring it right down and add all the water up front, which is actually something that we do at the Craft Irish Whiskey Company as well. Not the exact same method, similar, but that's something that they do. So I'm a real big fan of Michters, and what they do, the quality, the craftsmanship, what this amazing female master distiller brought into the fray there, and all the work that they're doing. I think it's going to be one of the top bourbons to come out of America for a very long time. The further we get down these reviews, the longer we talk.
45 minutes in.
Solly, take it away.
Let's do this. All right, guys, 2 minutes. No cuts, no edits.
Let's bring in Alper. Let's make this shit official. You guys know the score. All right, let's go. Ooh, smells a lot like a rye on the nose, eh? I wonder what the mash bill is in this. I never even checked, never even looked. Should have obviously looked. Would have made sense, wouldn't it? But it smells a lot like a rye.
Doesn't give much away. Getting a bit of cinnamon and nutmeg. Everyone knows those are my favorites.
Ooh, you get a lot of cardamom across the palate. Really opens up, a lot of floralness, like this heavy, oaky, strong whiskey, and then boom, it just opens up at the top of your mouth with this floral note that, like, it's quite strong. Finish is beautiful. I'm just gonna put a tiny...
Yeah, the finish is really nice. There's quite a lot of ethanol in the mouth, on the palate.
What's the ABV? It's only about 43,
41.7.
41.7. I love the
But
fact
it's
that they broke it down to
non-existent on the finish. Nice. It's like sweet and spicy, so it's more spicy on the nose and then it's a bit sweeter on the palate. Second sip.
I'm gonna
ethanol's
guess
gone.
that this is like a high rye whiskey, just from the flavor perspective that's coming off it, but I don't know because I'm stupid. I stupidly didn't check, but it's bloody nice. When are we at 1 minute? We've gone 1 minute?
Oh shit. No, it's 3 minutes when there's 2 reviews, remember?
Oh. So let's tell us where we're at a minute.
Put that
and
one
a half.
down. Woo!
It's not enough to really talk about it, but the mouth is the best on this. The mid palate, the back palate. The finish is phenomenal. Nose is great. Very, very, very nice. Now we're going on to the bourbon. Completely different.
Getting a bit of fennel on there
Yeah.
and some raisins.
Actually, the ethanol, it's not overpowering on it, but it's definitely there. What's the ethanol on the bourbon? Is it higher?
Yeah, it's
ABV?
higher, 45.7.
40, it's not that much higher, but it's higher. So the nose on this one is that like it's like raisins that I'm getting. Mid palate, really, really nice. Silkier, smoother, less spice than this. Not that we're comparing them together. Sorry, Sally, go ahead.
No, sorry.
You're just enjoying it, you don't even want to talk, do you? That's what's happening.
No, it's nice. I actually, honestly, I prefer the American whiskey version.
So with the bourbon, time is gone. Well, let's just finish. Give me a few more seconds. So the bourbon is a little bit more tannic, meaning that it's just a bit more drier across the tongue. Really, really nice and silky and oily initially. Give it a few seconds, dries up. That's just standard with a bourbon because a bourbon is obviously a high corn mash bill. It's 51% mash bill, 51% corn or higher. That was really nice to try them together. I prefer the back palate on the bourbon. But I prefer the nose and the front palate and the finish on the American whiskey.
Yeah, I think overall the American whiskey is more balanced.
Yeah, there's
better.
something off with the American whiskey for me though. I actually think it's more balanced than the bourbon, but the bourbon doesn't have as much going on as the American whiskey does. But the bourbon unfortunately lets itself down just with a bit of too much tannin, but then again, that's just standard in a bourbon.
I like the dried fruits, kind of fennel.
Yeah, it's like a lot of like that fennel root, like a fennel salad, but not obviously salad, but there is when
I
you
always
have
like a
fennel salad
peppery
with orange.
finish as well, and the bourbon's got a peppery finish.
It is hard to review two whiskeys at the same time. I nearly just want to give one of them my whole devotion. This is the second time we've done it. We did it with the Redbreast. Luckily, we knew the Redbreast when we did it. It's hard to do it because the video goes on for too long and you don't get to give both whiskeys the love and attention that they deserve.
I literally said this exact thing before we did this. No one listens to me because I'm not a producer, although I should be.
Which one do you want to score first?
I'm gonna score the one I drank first, which is the American whiskey. I personally think it's more balanced. The finish I prefer, the nose I prefer, and I think the palate was basically the same. Not the same tasting, but in terms of how much I liked it.
Obviously you haven't scored it yet. The Town Branch got 7.9 between us, and Town Branch was a nice bourbon.
Yes, this is not as nice.
You don't think it's as nice as Town Branch?
No way, absolutely not. This one on my left is which is the American whiskey, by the way. This is a 7.4.
Ooh, that's a bit low for me, but yeah, okay. A little bit higher on that, just because. Why is it I'm always going higher than him? Is it that you're just a Grinch?
He's the Louis of the craft whiskey boys, and I'm the Simon.
Oh Lord, I'm not buying that one.
Good looking, smarter, more enterprising.
Is Louis good looking and smarter?
No, Simon is. Also not Irish.
All right, so on the American whiskey for Michters, I'm at about 7.7 on that. Probably closer to 7.8. That's a very good whiskey. It only let itself down just on that back finish. Everything else was great. Nose, front palate, explosion, really great. Mid palate, beautiful. Coming into the back palate, it was still great. The finish was phenomenal, but just on that back palate, it let itself down a little bit. 7.6, so it goes in where the Dublin Liberties Copper Alley is.
Okay, I think that's fair. I think that is actually fair.
American bourbon, I'll score this one first. We'll let Pennyman score second. I believe is as good as the American. The thing that with the bourbon is the only bad part, but it's not bad. It's a bourbon trait in a lot of cases. It's just that bit of tannin that comes after you've drunk it, but it's not a lot of tannin. Love the front, love the mid, love the nose, love the finish, love a lot more, and I think it's a little bit more balanced than the American, but the American is just more explosive in the mouth in a better way. But I'm at a 7.7 for that too. I think it's just as equally as good, not better. Just both of them have two little pieces lacking, but I'm at a 7.7 for the American. Oh, sorry, for the bourbon.
Bourbon's a 7.3 for me.
7.3.
Slightly less than the American whiskey. Reason why I'm rating it at that level is because it's a good whiskey. It's almost as good as the American whiskey, but the palate's the same. Different tastes, but similar level. The nose on this and the finish are better, but this has got a good length of it. I like the spiciness on the bourbon finish. Everyone knows I like a good spice. Slightly shaded by the American whiskey, so 7.3.
So 7.5 on the Michters Bourbon and 7.6 on the Michters American. Now the Michters Bourbon is about 10 quid more than the American, I believe. So where are we at 7.5? We're right in here at the Macallan 12 range, which is respectable. It's a good score. 7.5 is not a bad score. There was just little nuances that let it down for me that would have put it in closer to the 8 range, I'll be honest. It's when most people drink this, they'll probably say, you know, it's up in the 8 range, and rightly so. Just for me, there was just little pieces that came off the palate, like on my tongue right now, there's just little taints that I'm getting that just, it's hard to explain and hard to put it out there, but you give little deductions in points because of that. Most people would, I think, agree with us or put it slightly up to the 8 on first taste, especially the American, because it's explosive in the mouth. So guys, you like it? Recommend some more bourbons for us, maybe some Canadians, some Japanese, Irish, Scotch, any whiskey really. I mean, we'll look at any global whiskey. We're looking for the 9. We're looking for something to beat the Redbreast 12, and we know it's out there. I've tasted them before. I'm not gonna bring them in. I'm waiting for someone to recommend it because Mr. Pennyman over here, who doesn't like to spend a whole lot of money, he's willing to buy you and ship it right to your door, all expenses, all inclusive. If you can recommend a whiskey below that is better than that, so something that scores a 9 or above, by Solly and me collectively, he'll ship you one of these. So please recommend some whiskeys below, and let's see. A lot of you guys that are watching this are whiskey experts. A lot of you have your own whiskey channels. We know that you know better whiskeys. Just let us know which ones it is, and we'll buy them. I know some of you are gonna go like, oh, the new Hackashoot, it just was like 3.5 grand a bottle that just won best whiskey in the world. Don't recommend that, because then I got to pay for it. Solly's not going to buy that one, and then he only has to ship you a 160 quid bottle of fucking Bushmill.
It's a bloody good bottle though.
Yeah,
So.
I'm gonna get shafted on that deal. Like, subscribe. 89% of you that are watching this right now are not subscribed. So why not? If it's not good, then don't. But if you like this content, if you subscribe or hit the alarm bell or whatever, when you log into YouTube, which we all do, you know, you get in there, you want to watch some videos, anything new that we have will pop up and it will show you. So click the subscribe button and you'll get all our videos. Thank you. Look forward to the next one.
And if you want to know how the scoring system works, just have a look down in the description. What?